This is Cedric Struggs. Here he is a teenager and was only 18 years old when he went to prison. And this is Cedric Struggs' Wednesday in court more than 40 years later. And with California's felony murder law changing, his mother is hoping any day now her son will be home.
Even if he had did it, 42 years? Boy, that's a long time.
Doris Shotwell has continued to fight for her son, Cedric Struggs, for years. He went to prison back in 1981 for felony murder. According to appellate court documents in 1980, Struggs and two other men entered a gas station in Bakersfield with the intent to rob it. But during the robbery, one of the men shot and killed a victim and shot another woman. However, according to court documents, Struggs did not fire the gun. And now he's been in prison for 42 years for felony murder.
So they convicted my son. And Ed Jacobs said he thought my son did it. And the lady witness that got shot, she said she didn't even see him.
During the 1980s, California law allowed a person to be convicted of felony murder if a person died while the felony was in progress. But in 2019, Senate Bill 1437 went into effect that says a person is guilty of felony murder if he or she commits, attempts, or participates in a felony and one of the following is true. He or she kills a person. He or she aids or abets in committing murder in the first degree with an intent to kill. He or she was a major participant in the felony and acted with reckless indifference to human life. Or because of the defendant's acts, a peace officer was killed while engaged in the performance of his or her duties. Because of this change, the California Attorney General's office tells 23 ABC in part, quote, "Our office agreed that the case should be remanded to the Superior Court for a new hearing regarding the potential applicability of SB 1437. And Wednesday, Struggs appeared in court for his resentencing hearing. The hearing was continued through Thursday. His mother tells me she doesn't understand what is taking so long to release her son.
I don't know why they want to keep holding him, because if that was their son, they wouldn't want them to be in there 42 years and he didn't have a gun.
Shotwell tells me Struggs also has a disability and was behind an average IQ level when he went to prison.
Then when he got in prison, he couldn't spell Bakersfield even to write me home. And he said, "Mama, I had to get people to read the letters for me." So that's hard. And the prison that they sent him to was really bad. And they said, well, he's in there fighting.
But his friend Sandra Broussard says he's learned a lot during his time behind bars, and they want him to be able to use that.
The last part of his life, he'd be able to spend it here in the world and do what he wasn't able to do in his younger days. Give him the, strength to do what he learned in the prison and what he has went through and do better when he get out.
And his mom is continuing to advocate for
freedom for Cedric Struggs, my oldest son. Freedom!
I asked his mom about the day her boy comes home. What does it do to your heart to think about the day that he will be able to walk free?
To come home, oh boy, it was going to be joy. We're going to have a time. First, we're going to go to the church and we're going to pray a prayer over him. That Lord would bless him, and I know he's going to do good.
And Struggs is due back in court Thursday at 9 a.m. Of course, we will continue to follow this case and bring you any updates as they become available. Live in downtown Bakersfield, Brianna Willis, 23 ABC News, connecting you.
College. Let's talk about it. If you or a loved one filled out an application recently, it probably looked like this. Name, check. Age, check. Race? In many states, that question is there, too.
But should that race question be asked at all when it comes to college admissions? Justices here at the Supreme Court will soon decide.
We have asked the High Court to end the use of racial preferences in college admissions.
Meet Edward Bloom, a man who for the last 30 years has been trying to end race's influence on everything from elections to college admissions, a debate known as affirmative action. On Monday, he'll be back at the Supreme Court, and if he wins, private and state universities nationwide could be prohibited from asking about race.
We believe that a student's race and ethnicity should not be used to help them or to harm them.
Specifically, Bloom's case involves Harvard University and the University of North Carolina. At UNC, Bloom is alleging qualified white applicants are unfairly rejected because of their race. At Harvard, he alleges qualified Asian students are unfairly rejected. Both universities deny that.
Some people might say that if you win, you're going to take away some opportunities.
We're not going to take away any opportunities.
Many institutions disagree. All of these companies have written to justices saying that ending affirmative action could harm the economy, fearing a decline in equitable higher education.
It'll be incredibly problematic.
Natasha Wariku is a professor at Tufts University in Massachusetts. She says to best understand the impact, all you need to do is look at the 9 states that currently prohibit asking about race. The University of California and the University of Michigan actually wrote to the Supreme Court this summer saying they've struggled with diversity since they were banned from asking the question years ago.
There are year-to-year continuous declines on the number of Black, Hispanic, and Native American students.
Don't expect an opinion by the court for months. The fact justices agreed to hear the case suggests a landmark decision is on the horizon. In Washington, I'm Joe St. George.
With just days to go until the high-stakes midterm elections,
keep your rosaries off my ovaries.
Abortion is taking center stage.
I believe that innocent human life is worthy of the protection of our laws.
I think those decisions are made between the woman, her family, her doctor, and her faith.
Since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, at least 14 states have seized nearly all abortion services.
I'm voting to have a choice in what happens to my body.
I am very, very much pro-life, and I'm so glad that it went back to the states.
In Georgia, a 6-week ban is in place. The contentious race there between Democrat incumbent Senator Raphael Warnock and anti-abortion rights candidate Herschel Walker could potentially tip the balance of the Senate. Walker denying allegations that he paid for a former girlfriend's abortion.
Did you ever, to your knowledge, give money to pay for the cost of an abortion?
No.
In Kansas, voters overwhelmingly decided to protect a woman's right to choose. It was the first state to give the public a chance to weigh in on abortion rights through a referendum. Kentucky will have a similar measure at the polls.
They're voting on whether or not to change their constitution to add a provision that would say that you cannot secure or protect the right to an abortion in their state constitution.
California, Vermont, Michigan also expected to have abortion on the ballot. Some lawmakers, like Republican Senator Lindsey Graham, taking things one step further. He's introduced a bill that would impose a nationwide ban on most abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy.
There's folks who have the desire to go even further than just overturning Roe. They want to see further restrictions on abortion access. And so those folks are also going to turn out en masse because of this issue.
President Biden promising Democrats will protect access to abortion under federal law if they win enough seats in November.
And together we'll restore the right to choose for every woman in every state in America. So vote. You got to get out the vote. We can do this if we vote.
But historically, the party of the president often loses seats in the midterms, so it's a very tall order for the Democrats to keep control of the House. Reena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Tensions running high in Texas.
Hold those responsible accountable.
As for the first time, heartbroken families of the Uvalde school shooting victims come face to face with Colonel Stephen McCraw, the head of the Department of Public Safety, who in the aftermath of the massacre at Robb Elementary condemned the Uvalde police response. But today, families calling for him to step down, saying DPS officers who also responded to the shooting failed too.
It was 77 minutes that 91 of y'all's officers waited outside while our children were slaughtered.
The hearing marked the first public update from the DPS director since mid-July. McCraw telling families and the Safety Commission he won't resign.
You know, if DPS as an institution failed, then absolutely, I need to go. Right now did not fail the community.
But families say it wasn't just about the police response, telling McCraw the aftermath of the shooting, where at times the timeline and details from McCraw tended to change, was just as damaging.
Mr. McCraw, you have all the resources in the world. You are from the state of Texas, and yet you come out, your staff comes out, and misinformation after misinformation.
19 children and 2 teachers were shot and killed with an AR-15 style rifle inside Robb Elementary. Nearly 400 officers rushed to the school but didn't go into the classroom where the gunman was inside with terrified students and teachers until more than an hour later. That slow response leading to a chorus of criticism. Today, Texas State Senator Roland Gutierrez demanding that McCraw be held accountable.
I'm going to keep pushing and demanding that this governor take responsibility and fire this person.
McCraw says the full criminal investigation will be completed and turned over to the district attorney by the end of the year. I'm Morgan Norwood, ABC News, Los Angeles.